brilliant. I think we can get started. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for this webinar on proving the business value of sustainability efforts. With climate regulations across Europe and the US in a state of flux and political headwinds causing volatility to global trade and political stability, sustainability projects, and sadly the teams behind them, often aren't as high on agendas. We at Sweep, and hopefully all of you attending this webinar as well, realise that sustainability projects remain mission and bottom line critical. Proving the business ROI of sustainability initiatives isn't just a matter of compliance or corporate responsibility. It's about showing how climate action delivers real business value. It can cut costs, make operations more efficient, and so much more. There was a major study from Morgan Stanley recently which found that 88% of companies see sustainability as a long-term value driver, and more than 80% are tracking measurable ROI. It's no longer just about compliance, but it's also about profit and resilience. So the ROI of sustainability as a business driver is real. My name's Felicity Box. I'm a senior solutions engineer at Sweep, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by our CEO and co-founder, Rachel Delacour, and Elodie Broad, who is head of Impact and ESG at Balderton. I'm going to be asking them some questions about key strategies they've seen which demonstrate the financial contribution of sustainability initiatives. We are going to have some time at the end for a couple of audience questions, so please do drop any questions that you have for either Elodie or Rachel into the Q&A box as we go along. And without much further ado, we'll get started. So first of all, Elodie, thank you so much for joining us today. At Balderton, you invest in early stage companies where there are often substantial time and resource constraints from the get-go. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do at Balderton? And do you think there is such a thing as ROI in those very early days?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it's a delight to be here. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. So for those who don't know us, Balderton Capital is a multi-stage venture capital fund. We're based in London, and we've been backing European founders for 25 years now. And so we write tickets anywhere between 1 to 60 million, backing early stage and growth stage companies across a number of sectors. As the head of sustainability and impact, my job is to work with the companies in the portfolio to help them grow as responsible and sustainable companies from the get-go. Whenever a company joins the portfolio, my biggest challenge really is amid the competing priorities that they'll be facing post-closing their investment is actually ensuring that they do carve out the time to think about what it means to them to grow sustainably. And so what's really interesting is that for a lot of companies, say in B2B SaaS, in fintech, in cyber, where there's no natural affinity necessarily with the topic of sustainability, they do actually very quickly say, you know what, this is really important for us from a talent perspective. It comes up in when we're interviewing candidates, they want to understand what's our higher order mission, or do we fully understand the weight of responsibility that comes with potential growth? So I think there's definitely a clear ROI from the get-go, from a talent attraction and retention, which, as we know, is going to be the greatest assets of a startup and potentially make or break the company. I think then what's interesting as well is seeing examples that really debunk the myth that sustainability is the more expensive option. And I think I spent a lot of time, given the nature of our portfolio, working on digital emissions recently. And really, when companies start looking at their cloud-based emissions or their AI computing related emissions, they realize that actually by reducing their emissions, they're going to save money and the product's going to be better. So one example that comes to mind is Photo Room, and they've published a lot about it online, so really strongly encourage everyone to go and check it out. But they've actually shown that a more environmentally conscious AI model is also a more cost efficient one, and it's also providing the better kind of user experience because the model just goes faster. Lastly, I think it is also about the cost of potential cost down the line of not getting it right. And as much as we don't have clear-cut examples yet of IPOs that have gone wrong because of poor sustainability performance, we've definitely seen plenty of examples of M&A processes that have been prolonged, and we know that that is costly in of itself, because it just takes more time than needed to get the sustainability house in order. So even at very early stage, there is definitely some clear value drivers associated with the work.
Thank you so much, Elodie. And yeah, we hear that time and time again of that kind of, time is money. It's a famous, famous saying for a reason. And actually, when you can increase those efficiencies, you're saving money as well as potentially the emissions that go alongside those. Um, Rachel, coming over to you, as CEO of Sweep, you get the opportunity to speak to lots of different companies, potentially at much later stages as well. What role do you think that data plays in proving the business value of those sustainability efforts?
Yeah, so proving sustainability's financial return remains a persistent challenge for organizations, today. And yeah, I must acknowledge that optimism alone is not sufficient. And really, this is the why of Sweep as well. But data is the key differentiator that transforms actually sustainability from a cost center into a measurable business driver. And for Elodie's books, definitely. But yeah, current research. Oh, I click on record. Sorry. Current research shows two primary motivators actually driving sustainability investment. So first, you have the investor expectations. So as you were mentioning also, but because just the financial markets are increasingly demanding transparency and performance metrics. But there is also the second driver is the business outcome of it. So clear evidence that sustainability wins revenue when properly measured. It's it has to be integrated into the business strategy and communicated. So, but I would say that most importantly, what we are also hearing from our customer, etc., but we are mainly talking about an inevitable transition. The transition to a low carbon economy is already happening by leading businesses, and it's a historical imperative. So regardless of individual perspectives or perceived regulatory flexibility, transitioning to a low carbon business model is now just a core CEO mandate. And this fundamental shift requires robust data infrastructure to succeed. So data has a critical role in this transformation as you need a comprehensive monitoring framework. In one single place, it's far better too. This is what we are doing, but okay, let's focus on the ROI of it. But yeah, this effective sustainability transformation demands the same rigorous approach as any major business initiatives like digital transformation did, 15 years ago. So it's a parallel, but and this effective and this rigorous approach, it requires, like any initiatives in a business, operational excellence. So you have to monitor your transition trajectories in near real time. You have to confirm your capital expenditure estimations against actual performance, conduct frequent and scalable assessments across operations. But it's also about strategic intelligence. So you have to identify improvements patterns through the value chain. You have to anticipate potential disruptions before they impact operations. It's about also enabling data-driven decision-making and rapid response capabilities. You need data. And it's about stakeholder confidence. So operational excellence, strategic intelligence, stakeholder confidence. We were talking about supporting M&A due diligence with verified sustainability metrics, but also providing insurance companies with risk assessment data, building employee trust for transparent progress, etc. So all this, it's about smart business. Data is at the core of it. And yes, data is at the foundation for transformation and for the topic we are talking about today, definitely.
Thank you, Rachel. There's some really useful insights in there. And I think often we get as sustainability professionals carried away with thinking with the heart. And of course, all of this has happened before in terms of those digital transformations, those big business changes. And we need to think a little bit more with our heads, perhaps, and join the dots there. Elodie, you shared with us in your previous answer some examples of companies which had successfully kind of integrated some of those sustainability initiatives alongside their value drivers for business strategy, those efficiency reductions and cost savings as well. Are you seeing any common factors that you've observed with companies that you work with that are proving the ROI of their sustainability initiatives?
Yeah, so I tend to think about it in two camps. So I think one camp and sweep with, with fall within that are those companies whose whole business model is built around a sustainability trend. And I think those, I mean, the ROI here and the way they're monetizing sustainability is just through growth, and profitability. So that's a pretty straightforward business case, I guess. But as mentioned, like, maybe 70% of the Balderton portfolio won't fall in that category. So there'll be businesses that aren't built around a specific social or environmental mission. Nevertheless, we're seeing examples of companies that are really successfully elevating and then really integrating sustainability in the business strategy. And I think here, the big, not so, I guess, not a secret, but like it's that common language. And I think that's why I will go back to what Rachel said around data. Like, I think accepting that a commercial business is run on financial data first and foremost. And so the more that any of the sustainability agenda can be really framed in that same language and therefore put on a sort of level, playing field with all the sort of financial, language and data, the more successful it'll be. And then, so one example is a company who, for the first time this year, so a fintech company who've actually put ESG as one of their North Stars or OKRs. And all of a sudden, it's given it the same visibility as the sort of other firm level goals, and comes with it the same accountability and governance mechanism to come through it, and with scrutiny from the very top, i.e. the CEO and the board. So that's probably, I think, what I'd say, are the most common factors.
As a former data analyst, it gives me great pleasure to hear that data is always the answer. But I think, Rachel, as well, like, how can sustainability teams that better leverage that data to make their case to leadership? It's all very well kind of tracking it, making sure it's there, but how can they really leverage the power of that data in these sustainability initiatives and the buy-in?
Yeah, and in your question, there is the make their case. Yeah, and hopefully we are empowering them, to show the obvious. But yeah, of course, addressing climate change and transitioning to a low carbon economy, we know today that they have direct business benefits for real. There is more and more there is vendors like us who are, gathering lots of ROI stories. There is literature over there, about the ROI of sustainability, more and more. So this is, we are living at a very interesting time to be that catalyst also and to do that kind of webinar to show that, yes, we have more and more proof points about it, but about when I come back to the direct business benefits, when it comes to when it comes to revenue growth, from sustainable products, I just go back to a recent PwC study saying that 83% of companies that they have interviewed, they reported that R&D investments in low carbon products and services directly increased revenue, and for that. For those who were interviewed, it was between 6 to 25% of revenue uplift compared to non-sustainable products. So we also noticed that among our customers, that new sustainable offerings can open new markets and revenue streams. This is when they are asking us, to build some more features, to show more than this, in dashboards, etc. This is because this is what they are starting to see. So we are, gathering all what's really happening. And at Sweep, for example, they just talk about here about an example of two companies who are in personal care, in producing and distributing, I would say, just shampoo here, one being the most largest cosmetic companies and one being a smaller one based in the USA. One invested in R&D at a very, very high level for a while now, and they invested in the rinsability of the shampoo, okay, of the formula of the shampoo, of the sourcing of the product to decrease the energy consumption of their customers under the shower, because under the shower you are using hot water, and the less time you have to spend to rinse your shampoo, the less you are using hot water. And at the end of the day, it was a real argument for their customers too, because this is resonating. This is the way you are growing your revenue, stream, you know, on those new products. And regarding the smaller ones that I was also mentioning, they are based in the USA, and they were asked by their customer to really review their product footprint in general. They wanted it to be created, crafted, you know, produced locally, and that customization where at the bottom of your bottle of shampoo you are seeing that it's been produced locally, that you have all the footprints also with the carbon emissions notified, etc. It's improving the corporate carbon footprint as a whole from the company, but it's also the sentiment of ultra customization, okay, made in Brooklyn for Brooklyn people. This is something that has absolutely exploded, increased, I would say, their revenue. So all this, you know, as we have lots of story, at least hundreds of story of ROI like this. And when it comes also to your supply chain efficiency and resilience and engagement of that supply chain among our customers, we've made a quick survey, you know, and we have 37% of our customers that sees that supply chain efficiency, you know, as a top 5 benefit, you know, of taking climate action. If I go back to the one of our customers, SNCF, so we have a customer testimonial, etc. available, but SNCF is a state-owned enterprise that operates trains in France and Europe. Their long-term vision is that they plan to collect data from 160,000 suppliers. Okay, it's maybe one of the largest case in terms of supply chain that we are helping to cover. So over the coming years, they want to interconnect with, and they are already, you know, step by step doing so. They must engage their supply chain. They are that kind of big agent of change, and it's their responsibility to act on it. And part of the ROI of it is to better understand the possible carbon disruption they may have on their value chain by connecting all those dots. So there's a clear understanding of the ROI of it while connecting all those dots. What's working, not working, where we should engage more suppliers or not. So overall, as Elodie said also already, low carbon choices improved operating margins when it comes to energy sourcing, logistic decisions or else. We also have a customer that is even monitoring an EBITDA, so EBITDA, okay, so P&L for financials, you know, so from the earning before interest tax, you know, and amortization. So they are looking at it at a store level, and they are adding a C, so EBIT, EBIT DAC with carbon, because they are doing that same exercise for each line of their P&L with carbon, so that right away in stores, the ones who are buying products are also looking at the kind of real-time, you know, decision making how it can impact their P&L. So it's super interesting to see the vision of the advanced ones when it comes to the ROI of it, the P&L reading, you know, almost the financial reading of it, you know, there is parallel with that. And one of the strong business impact is also, the ability, you mentioned that also, Elodie, to recruit and retain talent, aligning with your younger talents' preferences and making organizations more attractive to prospective, but also to current employees. We have one of our customers, they are very advanced also in what they are doing in terms of sustainability and proving, showing, forcing themselves to be audited on this part, and forcing yourself, you know, to be audited. What it means for them is that they are not a listed company, but they wanted to be audited on that sustainability initiatives, etc., on their trajectory and their carbon emissions trajectory reduction, etc. They wanted to be audited that same way, and what the auditors told them, okay, if you were listed with all at the same level, we would have suggested, we would have recommended a plus 10% on your share price. They applied that right away, okay? And what it means for employees, for example, who are retiring, it's 10% more in their pocket. It's real money right now coming from the sustainability efforts the whole company and what they as an employee made. So it's this is the kind of stories of verbatim, of verbalization of ROI that we are hearing from our customer base, but also from other customer base, and this is starting to be real. So hopefully we will have more webinars to talk about that.
Absolutely. One of the things I love about some of those examples as well, Rachel, is that, you know, you mentioned kind of a scope 3.11 use case there around use of sold products. Like that's also decreasing their customers' carbon footprint overall, and impacts going into kind of scope 3.1. So looking at that purchase goods and services with the supplier example at SNCF of like, yes, there's an internal return on investment here, but also a massive multiplier effect for those sustainability teams and the influence that they're having on other companies or other individuals' carbon footprints or sustainability impact as well, which is kind of win-win-win across those boards as well.
And just the beginning.
Just the beginning. Just a reminder to everyone to keep dropping those questions in the chat if there's anything that you'd like to put to Elodie and Rachel as well. We've spent a lot of time kind of looking around previous examples or current examples, but the conversations around this return on investment have clearly evolved in the light of changing regulations and the massive political volatility that we're experiencing at the moment. I'd love to ask each of you how you see that relationship between sustainability initiatives and the business performance evolving in the future. And to come to you first, Rachel, from a technology and data perspective, how have you seen those strategies evolving and how do you expect them to evolve in the future?
If I won't be long on this one, but what I can tell you is that, for example, when it was about that regulatory driver, you know, that forced companies recently to organize that new governance because it's impacting all departments. What we've seen, one of our customers told us, you know, it's been 10 years that we were waiting for a project to break our silos. And they said that CSRD, okay, a project, so in Europe, it's the first time for the last 10 years that they broke as many silos within the companies. And they all liked it. And now that they are ready, all set in that CSRD exercise, they want to continue to do it. Because actually, they've seen that it has enhanced their transformation by collecting the right playbook of information. Okay, so I can just say that at the moment that because for me it's really powerful and really driving companies in the right direction.
Absolutely. And Elodie, same question to you. So from an investment standpoint, how do you see that relationship between sustainability initiatives and business performance or ROI evolving?
Yeah, I think, and I've loved all the examples that Rachel just mentioned, but I think it is important to acknowledge that right now, sustainability is going through a bit of a reset or sort of reckoning, and in pockets of the markets, the ROI is not happening because the I is not happening. You can't have an ROI without the sort of the investment in the first place. And I think we're seeing a lot of organizations really grapple with that tension between, you know, they believe they see the potential of long-term strategic gains, but they're faced with short-term financial pressures. And so, you know, I guess some of the examples I shared were where it was a win-win-win. It was the short-term value creation case was very clear, but we just got to acknowledge that in some cases, it'll be a long-term value creation case. And so at this point, I think, you know, it's the data, but it's the storytelling. It's almost the leap of faith, you know, the organization. I think all these stories are really, you know, that Rachel mentioned are really powerful in making, you know, the company believe that there is something for them at the end, but they've just got to put the investment, you know, there, make that investment in the first place. And then I think we also need more case studies of things going wrong. Like, I think the investments in sustainability is also about risk mitigation and resilience building. And what's hard with that is that the return is actually hypothetical risk avoidance. So you're bulletproofing yourself against something that may or may not materialize. And but what I would argue there is that we're seeing lots of other types of risks being mitigated against without question. You know, the amount of money that's thrown at sort of cyber security, for example, but it's the same rationale. Like, you're investing in building up your infrastructure and resilience against something that may or may not happen. So I think we want to see, it would be really helpful, and I'm sure there's plenty down the line. There have been some already, without naming any name, but of where just companies have been really clearly disadvantaged from not nailing their ethics, their diversity, their sustainability, and just not being a responsible business.
Absolutely. And I think we will see more and more of those coming, not unfortunately, down the line as well. But you don't want to be those people. So get ahead of it now. We've got a question coming in from the audience as well, which I'd love to put to you. So from somebody who is really trying to get their leaders at their company from a tourism background, get the leaders on board without always comparing kind of commercial benefits alongside sustainability benefits, accepting, similar to what you said, Elodie, that some of this value creation is going to be long term. What's kind of the top advice that you would both give to a sustainability manager in this case, preparing a new business case for a new initiative? What was the one piece of advice that you would give to them?
I think also all the examples that you can tie to your business case is are still welcome and are still saying something. You also have to mention that there is not only it's not only all about financial return, but we are talking about retention of your customer. You are talking about just keeping your customers, because they are looking at what the company is doing, and at the end of the day, just remind everyone in the room that this is the sense of history, future-proofing your business and keep it moving, because the macro trends are not going away. We know the planet is a finite element. We know where all the businesses are heading. The ones who will adapt to that and prepare themselves for it will absolutely win against others. For sure, mathematically, A plus B, it's a very easy calculations to do. So and you can remind also your boss that it's very unfair, because you are living, and it's difficult for businesses. There is two transformation happening at the same time: AI transformation, low carbon transition to a low carbon economy. It's hard for businesses to, okay, where should I allocate, etc. But your boss is not either able to prove the ROI of AI today, because yes, there is some productivity at some point, etc. Okay, but what is the cost of that? Come on. So it's pretty unfair to give you, okay, you are the sustainability guy. It's very difficult for you to prove it on the long term. Come on, there is already lots of proof points everywhere. We are also, helping to create that for you. But what I mean is that it's the sense of history at the end of the day. So it's the mandate of your CEO as well. Remind that kind of wording, mandate of the CEO, to have a company that is lasting forever, going through those two transitions. Yeah, and it's not easy, definitely.
I would
go ahead, Elodie.
Oh, sorry, just to pick up on something Rachel said earlier, I think the breaking the silos piece, I think there's something with Stone here, which is its strength, but also one of its downfalls, that it's so cross-cutting and holistic in what it is, that sometimes it could be kind of stripped back to essentially good business sense. And I've heard stories where companies, just by having a conversation about sustainability, started talking about risk and opportunities to parts of business that they wouldn't have surfaced otherwise. So the more you can really tie the sustainability story as that actually this is just a big picture strategy, conversation that I want to have.
Smart business, yeah.
The more, smart business, the better. Sometimes challenge yourself. Can you have this conversation without using the word climate or sustainability once?
That's a really good.
Sustainability is not just being green; it's to be sustainable forever.
That's a really good practical tip right at the end to end on. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for here today. Thank you so much to Rachel and Elodie for sharing your insights, and to everyone for joining us. Any questions that we didn't have time for, we will answer them in a follow-up email, so look out for that. And thank you so much to everyone for joining, and hopefully see you very soon for another sweet webinar.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Merci.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.